In Congress, the Senate Energy Committee's lead Republican says releasing more oil from the SPR doesn't produce a single new barrel of American oil. He's calling on the president to reverse course. Join us now, Senator John Barrasso, a Republican of Wyoming. He's the ranking member on the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Near term, that might be the quickest way to bring some relief at the pump, though. I think that's what the administration was thinking. Senator, because some of these other things, it takes time to reverse some of the restrictive policies and open up domestic production. But you can do this quickly. You don't think it's a good idea?
Well, no, it's another Hail Mary pass by a president who is desperately trying to deal with the problems he created by his attacks on American energy. Look, people are feeling the pain at the pump, Joe. As you said, in Wyoming this weekend, it's about $2 a gallon more than it was the day that Joe Biden came into office. So this decision to release more from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, it's not going to do anything in the long term. It may have a little temporary lowering of prices, but not significantly. We'll be over $4 a gallon through the summer, I believe, because we're not really producing more American energy this way. And, you know, some people call it a gimmick, but I think it's dangerous because he's tapping this reserve to the point, and it's for the emergencies, to the point that we'll be at our lowest level in there since, 1984. So in case of a real emergency, we're not going to have that emergency supply to lead back on.
Well, Senator, the problems in Europe and how they're going to generate the energy they need, they're well documented. Obviously, that's not Joe Biden's problem. What happened in the last 2, 3, 4 years? I mean, the pandemic certainly played a large part, and you don't have the workers you need to man some of the rigs. You don't, there's supply chain issues. There's myriad problems that go into this. What specifically do you think the Biden administration did or didn't do to get us into this situation?
Well, I've been on the Energy Committee in the Senate for 15 years, and I think of energy as the master resource. It powers our country, it powers our economy, it powers our military, and I think of it in the sense of, for our country, energy security, economic strength, and environmental stewardship, and we do it better than anyone else. So under President Trump, we became energy not just independent, but energy dominant. And now we are much more energy dependent. We are much better as a nation. I'm also on the Foreign Relations Committee. We are much better if we are selling energy to our friends than having to buy it from our enemies. And when Joe Biden came out with all of these policies starting day one, killing the Keystone XL pipeline, not doing oil and gas leases, and for people that had leases from before he became president, not allowing the permission to use those leases, the permits to drill, it shut down American energy to a point that today we're producing 1.3 million barrels of oil a day, less than we were in 2019.
Senator, when the pandemic hit and we shut down the economy, it became, not economically tenable to do a lot of this stuff. So that's one thing that we were dealing with. That anybody would have had to deal with that. In terms of the eventual transition, do you think it's a good idea for hydrocarbons to cost more so that they're more competitive, the renewable sources are more competitive with hydrocarbons? Do you think there was some thinking in that regard with the administration that maybe a little bit higher hydrocarbon prices would be good because it would make a lot of the transition renewable energy sources more affordable? More competitive?
I think there are people that the president has surrounded himself with in the White House and have come before the Senate, and some he has just as his czars in the White House overseeing all of this, who really do want to drive up the cost of all petroleum-based sources of energy, so it makes it look like the renewables are more affordable. I always say he wants to make green energy not that cheaper, but he wants to make red, white, and blue energy more expensive. And this is a real challenge that we have because the American people are suffering. The view of the president and how he's handling the economy, inflation, gasoline prices, all of those things, his numbers are in the tank. Less than a third of Americans think he's doing a good job with the economy, no matter what numbers happen to come out with employment. So those are the things I think the American people are looking at.
You're not happy with, I guess, the budget and some of the new taxes there as well. we're talking about it. I don't know whether it's going to go anywhere. You say it's dead on arrival. What would you do if you wanted to try to tap into some of the unrealized gain billionaire wealth? Would you do anything for that, or you'd leave well enough alone?
Well, as you say, the new budget comes out. There are 36 new taxes. About 13 of them have to do with making it more expensive to produce American energy. That's going to hit people. The biggest tax of all is the tax of inflation, which is hitting people living on a fixed income, seniors, all of those folks. You talk specifically about the so-called billionaire tax that the president's included in the budget, and part of it is it's going to hit a lot more people than just billionaires. This is a signal from the White House, from the president, to the liberal left that he's still with them. The bottom line is here, it's not just a tax on income, though. What he is proposing on a tax on wealth, which is going to make people have to tell the government what they own. And then if something goes up in value over the years, say a stock, you would have to pay tax not because you sold. You may still want to hold on to it, but if the value is up, they want to tax that unrealized gain. We've never had anything like that before. You know, we have a Constitution, the 16th Amendment, which prevents that sort of thing. It's a tax on income only. So we see what the president's trying to do here. He knows it's not going anywhere. I think it's just his effort to tell his liberal base he's still with them.
Senator, I'm not sure it's going anywhere either, but I do question, or at least want to know, if there is a reasonable way to capture the taxes, both that are owed in that they are actually owed, meaning funding the IRS to do that, something that the Republicans have not wanted to do thus far, it appears, and secondarily, owed in the context of, I think that there are reasonable, I don't know if there are reasonable loopholes. There are loopholes that I think people reasonably agree are loopholes that should be closed. But I also don't think that it appears right now the Republicans want to deal with that either. So in some ways, I wonder whether you think that position has created what might be described as an extremist position on the other side, which is to tax unrealized gains entirely.
Well, the president makes a number of assumptions in his budget numbers, and a lot was with the taxes. The other is that he's assuming that inflation is less than 3%. You know, this is how out of touch the whole budget is. When you assume inflation is less than 3%, when people all around the country are seeing inflation approaching 8%, right, they know that this is wrong. So you can talk about ways that you want to raise revenue. Yeah.
Are you supportive of what I would describe as basic things? Increasing the amount of money that the IRS has to actually collect the money it's due and already owed?
I am opposed to the sort of plus up the president wants to do to the IRS. We looked at that all in his Build Back Better plan, which had a lot of money in it to go after taxpayers who want to do the right thing. And they wanted to supersize the IRS, and I have opposed that all along. And I continue to oppose it.
So what do you think is the right size? Let me ask you actually a very basic question. What % of Americans do you think should be audited annually? Actually, let's do it just the 1%. What % of the 1% do you think should be audited, given that they probably have the most complicated tax plans and possibly are the easiest to evade taxes?
I'm in the mindset that people should pay all of the taxes that they owe.
Right.
No more than that. Whatever the law calls for, they should pay. They have accountants to work and understand the law.
Should there be no enforcement of that? Right now, I mean, it is minuscule, the number of people who are ever even checked.
I do not approve of the president's effort to hire a lot more auditors to go and take a look into private checking accounts, which is what they wanted to do, which would have hit every rancher in Wyoming, every small business owner in Wyoming. What the Democrats have proposing to do, I think, is going to be bad for America in terms of people wanting to keep more of their hard-earned money and not be called in front of the carpet of a government that's saying we want more because we want to spend more. That is the worst reason to go out the kind of enforcement that this administration is trying to do.
What about when working people are actually paying their taxes and people who are literally have the most money are not? I mean, it's a longer conversation, Senator, but I think that there's at least a reasonable question to be asked to whether we should enforce the laws that you're putting on the books. You're a law and order guy, I know. Senator, thanks.
Well, Andrew, I think you need to enforce the laws that are on the books, and I think that's happening right now.
I think that's the part that's in question, because we know it's not being enforced, because we know the percentage of people who are being audited.
We know a lot of laws that aren't being enforced.
A lot of laws aren't being
on both sides.
I don't